What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Backmarkers F1 Show. This is episode 65. We're going to be previewing the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix. But first, we got to preview and debut a little bit something new here.
I'm very excited. This was like, usually our setups take what? Like about maybe like 10, 15 minutes when we come in, move our table around.
Yeah.
This was an hour and a half. Almost hour and a half, hour 45 minutes of us setting this up right now.
Yeah, we were very diligent. And
it's going to move around next week when Tyler gets back.
That's right.
He was unfortunately unavailable today because he is working. But yeah, I'm very excited about this.
We got our table set up finally. You see, this is what happens. You know, it's like when you play F1 2019 and you purchase some upgrades, and then Jeff comes back to you in those emails and says, sorry, man, those upgrades, they just didn't work.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to redo them again. And that's what we did. And finally, the R&D came through, and table is up.
Table is up and running, and we're good to go. Like, look at how much space we have.
It's too much space. We were setting it up, and we're like, what do we do with all this stuff? Like,
yeah, like
where do we put it?
2 laptops. We can fit all of our hats. Actually, we're missing a hat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're actually probably missing a couple because Tyler also has a couple as well. And then, yeah, we don't know what to do once we get 3 people in here, how we're going to set this up. Like, am I going to go off to the side again? So we'll see how this works out. There's just so much to do.
Got any suggestions? Drop it in the comments below.
Yeah, so much room for more activities.
Yeah. No, this is great. It's like there's a lot more room now. Like, you can put your hands and arms on the table.
And we're not, like, bunching up our shoulders to, like, fit in. It's nice.
Like you said, 2 laptops going here. I mean, we look like we actually know what we're doing now.
Yeah,
professional.
Exactly. Yeah, So, right now, you'll notice that Sebastian Vettel's off to the side. When he does win the race, he'll be sitting right in the middle here with the checkered flags in between.
That's right.
With him in between the checkered flags. So, we're just waiting. We're going to purchase a couple more bobbleheads and we'll make it a yearly thing.
Yeah, so we got our Backmarkers F1 Show mug right in the middle, and we were just talking off there too about, as you guys can see the background behind us, we're going to look into getting some big branding going on here, some big logos or some sort of a thing maybe on our table or either behind us on the wall. I think would look really cool.
Yeah, if we get it on our table, we'll probably have above the ceiling camera or something.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something with this. Now we have a room to work with. I cleared out one of our back rooms that had a whole bunch of storage stuff in it. Now it's just behind the cameras at the moment. But yeah, we're gonna get that all changed around. Like, look at me, I'm spreading out.
Right?
I am man spreading so hard right now.
I'm triggered. You see, I didn't even prepare what we're going to talk for Singapore. We're just going to talk about our table. No, we're very happy to get that set up finally. Yeah, we had a couple weeks delay because of the person we brought it from didn't have the screws that we needed for the table. So, but I think it was worth the wait.
Yeah, we finally got it done, and yeah, so it's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
Got to set up right in between the time that all the races are going down. The most races in a month for this year. So
right.
It's an exciting time.
No, it's good. Yeah, and even for our city, we're bringing big upgrades. We just got our light rail transit system going.
Finally,
after 6 years.
If you're from Canada or the Ontario area, you've probably heard a lot about the Ottawa LRT system. It started almost like 10 years ago. But probably like a few years less, but they just kept on getting delayed, so much money going into it. But this week, it finally opened up. Doesn't cover all of Ottawa yet, but it's starting. It's starting,
Next phase, and then we'll probably be dead by the next phase, but
with delays, yes.
Yeah. And you guys might be wondering, well, why do we care what's going on in Ottawa, Canada? Well, I should tell you why this kind of relates to Formula One, and we will get into our previews just shortly after this, but we were doing the broadcast for the launch, which was this past Saturday. Mm-hmm. So I had to prepare some videos that we were going to show, and I was looking at an instructional video that they made about the actual train. I think it's four carts or how many it is. But anyways, they're showing off like, the front of the train, this and that, and then they get to the brakes. And guess what? The brakes have an F1 style energy recovery system.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they recover about 15% of energy lost from braking.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so I thought I'd bring it on and mention it because, as we know, Formula One always leads the road car industry in technology. Of course, we've got Renault that produces road cars. I mean, pretty much all of them. Ferrari,
Yeah.
Mercedes, partners with Infinity, Aston Martin, etc., etc. And they're using this energy recovery system technology in road cars. I know that they've been using them in a lot of different road cars, not just hypercars, but also regular road cars. And it's kind of cool to see this technology being used in something like a light rail transit system, right?
That is actually very exciting because now you see like the real life purposes of all like the engineering and stuff that goes into those cars, like coming into the real world and not just, just in another car, it can be
Yeah.
used in another type of engine or another type of locomotive.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, so all that money doesn't go to waste; it does go somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's super exciting. I forget where I was going with this.
I was just so excited.
I was actually reading. You know how probably a couple months ago, we posted on our Instagram that we found one of the F1 tires at the Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, with some of them. And if you ever, so I was reading on the interweb just last week that sometimes a lot of garages and stores will have F1 tires and they don't know what to do with it because it came in as a promo. So you can offer them money to just buy it.
Well, it's interesting because I was when I sent you sent me the I believe it was the C2,
Yeah,
the white sidewall tire at one Costco location, and then the one here in our neighborhood was selling the full wets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we were just there with my dad, and we were just looking at it because, it's cool. It's a Pirelli Formula 1 tire.
Yeah.
And the guy that was at the tire cashier or wherever was beside was like talking to us, and he's like, "Do you want to buy it?" And I was like, "What, are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you." And I was like, "Okay." And I can't remember. I think he offered like $200 or $300 for it. And I was just like, I knew it wasn't a real tire, but I'm like, well, if you know what the real one costs, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a nice little paraphernalia to have, if you're a huge F1 fan, if you have a man cave or, a woman cave of some sort, then yeah, it's a nice little thing to have, so you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, those are those C2 tires or those wet tires, like you say.
I figure we get one and put it right in the middle of this table. Right in the middle.
It will completely cover Tyler at the moment if he's sitting in the middle.
Well, I'll tell you, it would be cool as an interview set if you had, let's say, 3 tires and you just sat on the tires talking back and forth.
That is true.
You see that sometimes in the Sky Sports interviews, so it would be an interesting use. But good to know. Head down to your local Pirelli dealership and maybe they'll sell you an F1 tire.
Yes, or Price Club or Costco. Wherever you live in North America.
Now, is Costco only an American thing? A North American thing? We got any in Europe?
I don't believe they do, but they do have other things comparing to Costco and Price Club. I might be completely wrong, but I believe it is a North American thing because it's an American thing to buy in bulk.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think it was a European thing, but you never know.
Again,
right?
I might be wrong, so I'm not too sure. I'm sure they have something comparable to a Costco or Price Club.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below. Well, we have to keep in mind we do have an international audience, so try and curtail our references maybe to the entire world and explain some local things that maybe Europeans or South Americans wouldn't understand.
We were talking about burritos earlier. Is burritos a common thing in Europe as much as North America? Because burritos are very common here. There's so many burrito shacks or something related.
Yes.
Opening up, not the Burrito Shack, the company. Again, see, that's probably a North American thing.
Reason why we did mention it is because we might look into a burrito sponsorship.
Yes, we will.
You're just moving right along here.
This is our segues.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm bringing these things up just slowly so people get used to them.
Yeah, and then one day, who knows, big burrito sign in the back. Yeah. It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right. I guess we should move on into previewing this weekend's race.
Yes, exactly.
I think we've covered all of our news. And so this weekend, the Singapore Grand Prix, F1's inaugural night race, really. It was the first night race held in 2008. And pretty crazy to think that this race is 11...
First night race this year as well, or have they had a night race?
Second to Bahrain.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Yeah, Bahrain was second race of the year, and then Singapore. So the only... I guess you count Abu Dhabi in there as well. That's the third one.
Because that one started off in the day and goes into night.
Correct. Yeah. They do it a little bit differently, whereas Singapore and Bahrain start in darkness. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting race because we go. What a parallel between the last 2 weekends and this one. We go to the high speed circuits of Monza and Spa-Francorchamps, where it's low drag. You're maximizing straight line speed. and then you come all the way to Singapore, and you're pretty much throwing all the downforce onto the car. Maximum Monaco level of downforce, and really straight line speed isn't much of an issue. I mean, you do have the start finish straight, and after the Anderson Bridge, you do have a small straight where there's a second DRS zone, but really there's not much on this circuit. It really is all about downforce. So it's pretty interesting, the two kind of different parallels going from that low downforce setup all the way to the high downforce setup. Bad news for Ferrari fans because that is where they've been struggling.
I mean, they had their 2 races.
Yeah, correct. It's funny because it's like we kind of put everything on pause. It was Red Bull versus Mercedes before the break, and then Ferrari kind of had their time, like you said, and now it's like, okay, let's get back to Red Bull and Mercedes because that's probably what the battle will be heading into Singapore. But Ferrari are bringing some small upgrades to their car. Now, obviously, we do know that their problem is generating downforce, especially on the front end. So I don't think these are major upgrades, but small ones that might help their performance. Toto Wolff suspects that Ferrari will be better here in Singapore than they were in Hungary, which is another higher downforce circuit. So I'm interested to see how they will perform. I think a lot of people are counting them out, like 4th and 5th, but you never know.
That's a big one. But yeah, no, it should be very interesting for Mercedes because I do believe Toto Wolff is right. They've probably fixed their issues that they did have in Hungary because there was a summer break and everything in between that they had.
Right.
So I could see them as good favorites for this one as well. Not maybe, like you said, maybe not for first, but I could see them having a good podium finish for either Bottas or Lewis Hamilton. So.
Yeah, and we'll see what Ferrari could do. This is a great track for Sebastian Vettel. We mentioned him earlier. He's got 4 wins here, pole position 2, a couple of ones. So he really likes this track. And Charles Leclerc struggled at this track a little bit last year. He did have a crash in the free practice sessions. It's a track he doesn't know as well because F2 doesn't race at this circuit. So it's kind of one that he doesn't know as much as Vettel does, for example. So let's see whether Seb can use that to his advantage, knowing the circuit a lot better and having more experience than Charles. But this will be a big weekend for him too. I mean, he's had a week and a half or so to kind of rest and to digest the Italian Grand Prix. And I'm curious to see how he will do in this race. Because, I mean, it's a big mental hurdle to try and get over what happened in Italy.
Oh, for sure. Especially because he did have a very good chance in that race. So I'm excited to see Sebastian Vettel coming back. I've said that multiple times this season. But I'm really hoping for it this time because it's kind of like the final push. You're into the last 7 races?
Yeah.
6 or 7 races, right? So it's kind of like the final push, and the way that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions are at the moment, it could be very close to see who could be the best out of those 3 drivers. Because I feel like 1st and 2nd is kind of set up.
Second, I think
second might be a good chance with
Yeah.
Valtteri. You know, if Mercedes botches both of those, but I don't see Valtteri losing too many races coming up. Well, I mean, getting non-podium finishes or even out of the top 10, unless something really goes wrong. But yeah,
depends how good Red Bull can be in this last stretch because they've lost some ground in the first 2 races following the summer break with Verstappen. Not really, he scored points in Italy, but it wasn't that much. And then obviously DNF'd in Spa in Belgium. So, but that battle seems to be like it was before the summer break between Red Bull and Mercedes, and then Ferrari might try and just linger around and see what kind of wins they can maybe steal or points. So
yeah. Well, I believe I'm just gonna double check this. I'm just gonna double check myself here. Because I believe even with the change of Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly is still ahead in standings. Because he's still pulling. I think he pulled off 1 top 10 finish after the summer break, maybe even 2.
Pierre or Alex?
Pierre.
Yeah, I think.
I know Alex definitely got both of them. He got top 10 finishes in both. Right. Here, let me check right now. I can do this. I have the internet.
Beautiful. Just more of the upgrades that we're bringing here.
So, oh my God. Sometimes, you just hope it's going to be the next page and then you gotta click on something
the
else.
The F1 website has a lot of
you got to go through a lot of stuff.
Click the next one.
So yeah, he did not get top 10 in the last one. He did come in 11th, so very close.
Okay.
And then I know he definitely got top 10 in the race before that. So yeah, even with that, Pierre Gasly still has 65 points and Alexander Albon has 34. So, I mean, it should be interesting to see how that carries on through the rest of the season. Because I feel like Pierre Gasly might still keep that position, number 6, if he isn't taken over by Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, I mean, he could. If Albon were to score a couple podiums, though, then it might
raise it a little bit for sure. Speaking of, I was thinking of this the other day, and now that you brought it up, do you think he's going to get a podium for this season?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. He had 2 good first races with Red Bull.
His first race was very well done, for sure, coming from the back. And his second race was good, too. But yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. It's one of those, like, I feel like he will, but I'm also not 100%. So I can't confirm, I can't be for sure that he's going to be getting one by the end of this season.
He seems more at terms with the car than Pierre Gasly. So
For sure.
I'm going to go out and say yes, and that it's going to be at a Red Bull friendly track. So possibly here in Singapore.
Yeah.
Maybe Mexico, or, I mean, maybe at their engine's home race in Japan. I don't know. But I think that he might get one.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I would say probably no more than one, but he could surprise us.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a huge surprise for us with the switchover as well, but he might be a surprising finish to see where the best of the rest end up with this race. After Sebastian Vettel, I think it might be interesting to see where the next 4 or 5 positions end up, because even Daniel Kvyat's at 33. Which is 1 point under Alexander Albon. So
yeah,
and Ricardo at 34, tied with Albon as well. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there in that battle. It'd be pretty funny though if Alex Albon does finish ahead of Pierre Gasly,
because you would have done it in the last races as well. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. I think that he's got a good shot at it, and I think that there's some good Red Bull favorite tracks heading into the rest of the
for sure
last 6 or 7 races. So. We were just talking about him off air, Esteban Ocon. You said it was his birthday today?
It is his birthday today, the day of recording. So I guess if we put this out Wednesday, the 18th,
belated birthday.
It would be his one day afterwards. But yes, and he finally got to drive in that Mercedes.
That's right. Yeah, he was driving I believe is a 2018 Mercedes, testing the 2020 Pirelli tires, but they are still the 13-inch wheel rims. But actually, I had that written in my notes because Renault and Sergei Sorokin were testing the 2021 18-inch wheel rims.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'll just tilt this so you can see it, but we'll put up the picture for you guys at home can also see it. The rims just look really good on the Renault. I mean...
Actually, yeah, I did see that picture, and they do look really good. And I'm sure it seems like the drivers and the engineers are very happy with the upgrade to the 18-inch rims. Because not only does it make the car better, I'm sure it does make the performance of the car a little bit better as well on those corners. Because I did mention it maybe probably more than 5 or 6, probably before the summer break. But in road legal cars, I'm sure it applies the same way. Again, I might be wrong. I am not an engineer. The bigger the rim size, the more you can take those corners faster because you're not completely on rubbers. So you might see faster corners in that case, but also, so it should be interesting. It is a more rough ride, though, the higher rim, more rim size, higher up you go. So.
Yeah, I just can speak purely on aesthetics and how it looks. I think it looks great.
It does look really nice. I do really like the look of it. I mean, you're not going to be seeing those rims when those cars are moving, but you're going to be seeing more of the wheel well inside and more of how some of the braking and stuff inside the car works, hopefully, because of it.
Well, and if they put those stupid wheel covers on them, like in the 2020 regulation specs, if that stays the same, then we're going to have that problem because we won't really get to see much of it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that this was the first time we've seen it on an F1 car, and it's been running on the F2 cars. So, yeah, I mean, it looks good on the F2 car, but I think that actually seeing it on an F1 car just makes it look really, really good. So, yeah, I'm glad with how that looks. And a couple of other notes that I wanted to bring before we get into our circuit-specific stats. Haas will not be running the Rich Energy logo anymore. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we mentioned this in the previous episode, I believe, that they have cut ties with Rich Energy, and they've made it official. So no more Rich Energy branding on the Haas car. So they're just going to pretty much keep the same livery.
Okay.
But they're going to put just a couple more Haas logos on it, pretty much.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And they're going to they're in between specs sort of in what type of car they're going to run. They're kind of going to run a hybrid of the new spec versus the old spec. Obviously, before the summer break, you had Romain Grosjean, who was running the Australia spec, and then Kevin Magnussen, who was running the brand new spec. So now they're kind of, I guess, meeting in the middle somehow, and they're just going to run a hybrid version of it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for Haas. They haven't had a good run of form either. So Williams, they've extended their Mercedes engine contract until 2025, which is pretty big extension.
That is a very big extension. That 6 years.
Yeah. You got Sergio Perez for another 3 years at Racing Point, and now Williams hooking up with Mercedes for another 6 years.
Wow. So when does Racing Point's Mercedes? Have they just re-signed their contract with Mercedes as well?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how long the contract runs still.
They're probably in a new contract since they're technically a new company, right? So might be wrong.
Maybe they might have renewed for after Lawrence took over. Yeah. Excuse me. What I was going to say, though, is we're usually not used to seeing at least driver contracts being signed for that much longer, but it's been a good partnership for the most part for Williams. Obviously, the last couple of years, they haven't been bringing the performance on their side, but Mercedes in this hybrid era have had the best engine up until this year, I think. So not a bad partnership.
But this does mean we might be seeing Williams for a very long time. I know we talked about it in the beginning of this season and the last season that we're not too sure if Williams will be around because, we do like the rich history of the team and such, but hopefully that is a good sign that we will be seeing Williams around for a long time.
It's a good point.
And hopefully a chance to improve over those years as well and not, be in that 19th and 20th position that they've been in.
Yeah, I hope they do stick around and this could be one of the first signs that they will. And just lastly, one of the things that they're looking at removing in regards to the Singapore circuit is the quote-unquote crash gate corner. Now, if you guys remember, I think it was in 2008 when Renault at the time, before they left the sport for a couple years with Fernando Alonso and Nelson Piquet, the Renault team principal, and Pat Simmons, who I believe was the technical director at the time for them, they had Nelson Piquet crash on purpose during the race so that Fernando Alonso could get sort of better circumstances in the race because he did end up going. Basically, if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube. There's a good breakdown of it. But because of Piquet's crash, the safety car came out. Fernando was able to make a pit stop, come out ahead, and essentially win the race. So anyways, they did this whole investigation, and they found that Renault did this on purpose.
That is a very dangerous strategy.
Very dangerous, yeah. They had bans and fines and suspensions and all the trimmings.
I'm surprised the driver still wanted to drive for them.
Yeah, I think that they held some things over his head. Probably I think they did promise him a drive, which is the reason why he did it. Yeah. But he eventually lost the drive afterwards and kind of got blackballed out of F1 for it. So
I mean, that is a hard circumstance to be in. Like if you're that driver, because
if you haven't heard about it or you haven't seen it, go and look it up on YouTube. There's a couple of good kind of videos stitched together that explain the whole scenario. So anyways, regarding that crash gate corner, they're looking at potentially removing it, not for this year, but for the next couple years because of city construction. So that might be one part of the circuit that's going to be altered, not for this year, but for the next couple of years in Singapore. So that's the info on that. So let's get into the circuit info. And this is not one of the longest circuits on the corner, but you got 23 corners. And in terms of it's a lot.
Just looking at this, I'm like, that is a lot of corners.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you've got, I think more than 1,100 lights that are illuminating the circuit. So you got a ton of things coming at you. I think even more than Monaco, to be honest with you, in terms of what's coming at you and how you're seeing it. And 61 laps. And one thing about this circuit is that we all know that this is probably physically the most demanding race on the calendar because of how hot it is, the humidity. There's no air ventilation. I mean, it's a street circuit, not a lot of high speed, so no chance to really be able to get any airflow going into the cockpit. So on the drivers, it's very difficult, but it's actually a very long race too. I mean, the shortest Singapore Grand Prix that we've had is an hour and 51 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the race has to be completed in 2 hours. So, I mean, there's pretty much right on the limit. So they either have to complete, for example, in this race to 61 laps, or they have a 2 hour time limit. So the fact that that's the shortest.
Oh, yeah, that is a long race.
Yeah, and it's grueling. I think if you guys remember in that Netflix series when they did an episode that was part of the Singapore Grand Prix, the drivers just coming out and being weighed at the weighbridge, they were just like completely destroyed.
Oh, I can totally imagine.
Yeah, and they lose I think about 3 kilos almost of water. In terms of weight, just because of how much they sweat, and it's important for them to drink. But I mean, that drinks bottle just gets so
Yeah,
hot
it's going to be
because
ridiculously hot.
yeah,
Like, not probably 15, 20 minutes into that race. Not even.
yeah, exactly, not even. So you'll be seeing a lot of drivers with those cooling vests on the grid and the fans in the cockpit, but I don't really know how much that helps, to be honest. It is a street circuit, so it's very bumpy. And similar to like our home track here in Montreal at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, because of it's a street circuit, it's going to be very green on the opening day of free practice, and it's going to be very dusty and dirty. So the grip necessarily isn't going to be there on the first couple of days, but as we get into Saturday and Sunday, the grip will start to roll into the track, like it does with the street circuit. So that is why Pirelli is bringing the softest of the tire ranges. So they got the C3, the C4, and the C5 tires for this race. And just looking at the different sets here, we've got, hold on, let me see. Let me just pull it up here. So the drivers are using kind of different sets for each different team here. We got Lewis Hamilton. He's going to be running 2 sets of the C3s, 3 sets of the C4s, and 8 sets of the soft. Valtteri Bottas is the exact same. Now, this is where it gets different. You got Vettel, who's only opted to bring 1 set of the C3 tires, and he's instead gone for an extra set of the red soft C5. And the Red Bull boys, Verstappen and Albon, they got the same, but they're different from Ferrari and Mercedes. Verstappen's got 2 sets of the C3s, only 1 set of the C4, and he's going big on the qualifying, I'm guessing, 10 sets of the red soft.
That's a very interesting strategy from both Vettel and Leclerc. Because that means they're probably not going for those longer stints.
Yeah, last year it was a 1 stop that won the race, but Singapore does have a 100% safety car probability, so you kind of got to be flexible to adjust the strategy. So, I'm
looking at the weather for the race day right now. It's hot all weekend.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of showers here and there, but, nothing overboard. So, I mean, good set of tires to have, but, man, I feel like those softs are going to be burned through very quickly.
Yeah, if they're kind of like the Hypersofts that were last year, I think we will see a lot of tire degradation. That's why I'm kind of looking at the Ferraris to say maybe going with the 2 extra sets of the C4s in comparison to the Red Bulls might work better for them. If excuse me, if they want to go with the long run on that one. But we've seen Ferrari do a little bit of a better job actually on the white sidewall tires like we saw in in Monza. So.
But there are a lot more corners and turns in this one, so maybe they're hoping for faster corners because they only have basically two long straights to go through. So maybe they're hoping for faster corners on those softer tires and medium tires.
Yeah, to try and make back from the lack of the downforce.
Yeah.
I wonder how many laps we can see from Pirelli during the weekend, how long they expect those C5s to last in the race.
Yeah.
Because obviously the front runners, we'll see in qualifying whether or not they can get into Q3 on the C4s, but I'm curious to know how long those red C5s can last for the race.
Yeah, because like you said, with no airflow really going through, like it's not just the drivers that are getting hot. That entire track is getting extremely hot throughout. Yep. There's no ventilation whatsoever, right? So
yeah, exactly.
And there's supposedly a little bit of rain during the day, so hopefully that cools the track a little bit, but nothing extreme from what the weather report's saying. So
yeah, hot and humid, that's what they're expecting. So tough on everybody, and again cooling with the car too, right? And it's difficult on the brakes.
So it might be a difficult race for Mercedes in the end.
Could be. They did bring upgrades after Austria when they had those overheating problems, so that might help them a little bit. But you're right. That is where Mercedes have struggled this year. Kind of their only Achilles heel has been that overheating issue. 25% of the lap in Singapore is spent on the brakes. So brake wear, I mean, it's not necessarily a big issue in F1. The brakes are still pretty sturdy. We haven't really seen too many brake failures in the past. But that's another idea. But like you said, there's 23 corners, so not a lot of time to cool the car, cool the engine and all that too, tires as well, especially if you're stuck in traffic.
Interesting. What I was also seeing earlier that apparently Kevin Magnussen holds the track record.
I did see that before. Yeah, that must be nice for K-Mag.
That's a nice little record to have. On one of the longest races of the season.
Yeah,
to be able to have that record. It's a minute 41. Like that is a long lap overall. So good for him. He's got that going. He's got that going into this race. So and. Fastest lap counts. So
yeah. Well, that was an interesting one. I didn't exactly expect that when I saw that, but yeah, that was good for him.
I was honestly expecting Kimi Räikkönen or somebody, but
me too. Yeah, I don't know why I thought Kimi, but yeah. I was expecting that. Just when you were talking about the weather, I did hear that they had some air quality concerns in Singapore. The track organizers did.
Yeah.
So I don't think the air quality. I don't know exactly what's going on right now in Singapore, but that's a concern heading into the weekend. So I don't know how much that will really affect anything for I don't think they'll think about canceling any of the sessions or moving them.
I don't think
so. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So I think we pretty much covered everything that there is to know about the Singapore Grand Prix Street Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into our predictions. So we'll do our top 3, and then as usual, our X Factor or ones to look out for. Put you on the spot.
I am going to go Verstappen first, Charles Leclerc second, and I am going to go Lewis Hamilton third.
Okay.
And then our ones to look out for are Toro Rosso. Because I was originally thinking I might just pick Daniel Kvyat, but I feel like Pierre Gasly's also going to have a good race. Like he stepped up the last couple of races, and he's looking much better in that Toro Rosso than he was in Red Bull. So yeah, no, I think they're going to have a good weekend. And this is like another one. I mean, McLaren's always had some good races in this season, so they're always a one to look out for. They're always All
right, good choices. I agree on the Toro Rosso front, actually.
Yeah.
We remember a couple years ago, Carlos Sainz, when he was with them, scored a P4 at this race. So, yeah, it seems like their car does like this track in previous years. So, all right. My picks, so in third place, I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
I'm going to say he gets third. In second, I'll pick Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
And I'll agree with your P1 prediction of Max Verstappen.
Right here.
There he is.
I can do that right now.
And he's right there on the front, right there.
There you go.
So the reason why I picked Max to win the race is because we think back to last year when Lewis Hamilton put in probably one of the best ever qualifying laps in history to get pole position. Max was right there, and he was only, I think, a couple hundredths of a second behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was a phenomenal lap. So this track, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and they're looking at a better engine, in my opinion, this year as well. So
Yep, yeah, they got that Spec 4 Honda in the back, which shouldn't be much of a factor in Singapore, obviously with the higher downforce setup, but should help a little bit.
A little bit on the streets, for sure,
Sector 2 and Sector 3 as well, finishing the lap. So that's a plus for them because they've got all those engine penalties out of the way in Monza and in Spa, so now it's fresh, and they can push until pretty much the end of the season for the most part.
Japan, right?
I don't know if they're going to introduce a new spec in Japan, but I do believe that they will because that's sort of a Honda tradition almost to introduce a new one.
Max, or somebody was expecting to take a penalty in Japan. I might be wrong.
I think they might take the penalty. If they were to do that, they would do it the race before, which is in Russia, because they want that fresh engine to start in Japan.
Yeah, so, makes sense.
Yeah, we'll look into that to see if Honda will be bringing a new spec, but I do believe that they will. So I think that the high downforce setup suiting the Red Bull car, the upgrades that they've made after pretty much the French Grand Prix have really done Red Bull good. And I mean, think back to before the summer break, Red Bull were the hottest team on the grid. Max Verstappen was the hottest driver on the grid. Now, coming back post-summer break, power-heavy circuits, they struggled a little bit. And Max Verstappen personally struggled a little bit. We've kind of finally saw a dip in form from him in this race in Belgium. Italy was tough for him because he was starting at the back of the grid. But I think that this is the race that Verstappen is going to make that comeback right into the top step of the podium. Mm-hmm. So that's why I picked Verstappen to win it. And my X factor and team/drivers to look out for are the Pink Panthers, Racing Point.
Oh, nice. Good choice. Good choice.
I've been saying this for the last couple of races, but they say that they've got some tricks up their sleeves for this race as well. So I'm curious to see what they will be. And I've liked that their progress post-summer break. They're always a really good post-summer break team.
Yeah.
And they showed it in the first 2 races in Spa and in Belgium. Could have had an even better result in Monza, obviously, had Vettel not taken Stroll out. So I'm going to go with Racing Point as a team that I think could get both cars in the points here.
Good choices. Good choices for sure. Force India was... Racing Point was also going to be one of my choices as well, but I decided to go with Toro Rosso.
Yeah, that's good. We got to keep it different.
Yeah.
Every time Tyler's here, I think he just goes with the same ones. Sorry, Tyler. But I think that will do it for us. We pretty much got everything out of the way in terms of what you need to know for this weekend's race. So let us know your comments. Let us know your predictions, in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen this weekend at the Singapore Grand Prix? Will we see a Verstappen victory, or will we see Mercedes just rule the day in Singapore once again?
Should be a very good race overall. I am hopefully going to try and catch all of it.
Yeah, because you're out of town this weekend,
I am,
right?
Yeah, I leave Saturday for Toronto, so probably not going to be able to watch qualifying, but I'll be hopefully catch highlights. Wait, qualifying is probably at 9 in the morning. Yeah, I'll be able to watch qualifying.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah,
Canada's Wonderland can wait.
Yeah,
Get
Canada's
that Manu
Wonderland
game
can
in there
wait.
too.
Oh, exactly. That's happening. I've set my day to sports, so I'm gonna watch the race in the morning and then also watch the Manchester United game at the same time because there's an hour difference, and then I'm going to Wonderland.
Awesome. Good.
Which
good
has
plan.
the biggest roller coaster in Canada at the moment.
If you haven't gone, if you're in Canada, then check it out.
We're checking out, or if you're coming to Canada, we're checking out.
Yeah, there you go. So that means that we'll be back then the following week after Monday to recap the Singapore Grand Prix. And we should have Tyler back with us then. And we'll obviously, like Shaker mentioned at the top of the show, the set will look just a bit different with the three of us. We're still just trying to move things around how the best way it will look. So, exciting times for us here as we finish out the season. Mm-hmm. Crazy that the season's almost over, folks.
Yeah, seriously. I was thinking about that the other day. I feel like we haven't recorded that many, but quite a lot of episodes already this season.
Yeah, for sure. And check out our latest episode on our power rankings as well. That's up down below in the playlist and also on our homepage. Those are post-Italian Grand Prix, so they've been up for about a week or so now.
You know what? I was looking at F1's power rankings like just a few days ago. Their power rankings are super weird.
Yeah, because they do like a driver points or rating system, something like that.
Yeah, so there's still some drivers that are in there that I personally don't feel like should be in there.
I know, yeah.
I was like, and then I feel like one of them was in like the top 5, and I was like, how is that even possible?
Well, you know what I don't like about their rankings is that there's not much room for improvement.
Yeah.
Which is why we decided to go ranking the past 5, because at least drivers can move up and down.
Yeah.
But the last time I checked their power rankings was like probably 2 months ago, and I looked at it last week, and I'm like, these are still the same drivers like 2 months ago.
I think George Russell was still in there, which again, not taking anything from his like past few races. He has had a very good season, but he's not had a last like good 3 or 4 races in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's a couple other ones there too that I was just like, wow, really? I mean, Max was still number 1 for them, which okay,
I understand,
that's fair,
but like, yeah, I mean, no fault on his own. Like, he had a penalty the last time. Before that, he crashed. But yeah, like it. Again, I'm not getting into it. I could probably talk about that for a while.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch ours. Backmarkers F1 Show Power Rankings, separate playlist on our YouTube channel. Like it, share it. Debate with it. Always getting some good comments on rankings and stuff. Yeah. Previous episode wasn't too bad. Mostly, I think a lot of people agreed. Although we got a couple like Leclerc number 1, really?
Well, yes. This is the main reason I brought in the point of the F1 power rankings, because you can disagree with literally anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I mean,
we know.
I'm like, I understand that our rankings might not be the perfect ones, but I feel like we try to be more fair, or as fair as we can be to those in the last 5 races. So
yeah, and I think it's pretty boring if you just did the same ones week after week.
Yeah,
which is why we went with our ranking system, which I think is better, because then you kind of tune in every week and you're like, oh, you're expecting drivers to move. There's a new number 1 possibly. So,
and it's based on qualifying as well, where it's it's not just based on the race itself, because it is a race weekend and it's not just the race that happens. So
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from you?
No, I think that is it.
Okay, great. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and hit that bell on the notifications. Sometimes, or I don't know, everybody's still maybe on summer break or something. It was a bit slow in the last couple of weeks, so make sure you're still tuning into our videos because we're still bringing them out week to week. So you get that bell, and at least you get a little notification on your phone or in your email, and that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we've missed one preview or post race this season. Actually,
yeah, I don't know. Have we?
I don't think we have.
Don't think we have. Oh, pretty
Might
good.
be wrong. So
we'll see in the end of the year if we keep it going. Okay, thanks everybody for watching again, and join us next week when we recap the Singapore Grand Prix. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.